Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So yeah, this is it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, just because I haven't really felt the bug or the love sort of talking about movies recently. I don't know why, but I just thought I had an idea and it sort of struck me and I wanted to roll with it and sort of make a video about it. So yeah, in this video I'm going to be talking about 10 different movies that I just can't get into. I'm not saying these movies are bad in any way, shape, or form. I actually think all 10 of these movies are well-made movies, are good movies in the grand scheme of things. But for me personally, they do nothing for my taste buds when it comes to movies. They just don't fill me with any sort of enjoyment whatsoever. I think the best way to describe it is the feeling I get from watching these movies is very numb. Enjoyment just is pretty much non-existent when I watch these movies. But like I say, I think maybe if I watch these movies maybe in a different time, I might feel differently about them. I don't know. I've still got hold of them. I never get rid of anything in my collection because I've done that in the past when I've watched movies that I've never ever been into, and they've ended up becoming some of my favourites over time and on rewatches. But as of right now, these are 10 movies that for me, I personally just cannot get into at all. They just do absolutely nothing for me. Like I say, don't think they're bad, but just from a taste point of view, yeah, for me, these movies do absolutely nothing. And I think you'll be quite surprised to see which ones I have on this list. So yeah, I'm going to kick it off with the first one. There's no particular order for these. These are just 10. I feel pretty much the same way about all these movies. But yeah, number 10, as it were, or the first one that I'm going to be kicking off with, is a movie with Tom Cruise, and it's a remake, and that is Vanilla Sky. I remember this movie being advertised before it came out, and I remember being quite intrigued by it. It was a 15, I think I was too young to see it, and I think I saw it for the first time when I was in university, and I was just really, really underwhelmed by it. Like I said, I thought it looked great. I was really impressed with the cast. I have seen the original as well. I think it's Open Your Eyes, also with Penelope Cruz. And yeah, I just was left feeling really, really underwhelmed and questioning what the fuss was about. I'd heard it was really good. But yeah, it's just a movie that if it's got an undertoned message to it, it's gone completely over my head. And yeah, I just again left the movie feeling very, very numb and not loving it and not hating it. And yeah, that's all I can really say about it. Maybe on a rewatch further down the line, I might feel differently about it. But yeah, as of right now, the movie is just meh to me. It really is. I couldn't get on board with it. So yeah, that is Vanilla Sky. Next up, we've got a movie directed by Steven Spielberg, and Steven Spielberg for me has always been really, really hot shit when it comes to movies. You know, when he's good, he's at the top of his game and at the height of his powers. You know, even his name alone, if it's slapped on something, you expect quality. But for me, I just really, really could not get into AI, artificial intelligence. I've seen all the movies on this list at least twice, and yeah, for me, this is one that misses the mark for me. I know I think Stanley Kubrick was originally intended to direct this before he passed away, and then Spielberg obviously picked up the reins. But yeah, for me again, I think visually the movie's very interesting. It looks good, but overall, story-wise and cast-wise, similar to Vanilla Sky, just really underwhelmed by this movie. Yeah, just couldn't get into it at all. That's why it's on this list. But yeah, just did absolutely nothing for me. Just completely void of enjoyment on this one, like I said. So yeah, that is artificial intelligence. I can't say much more about it than that, unfortunately. Now, these next couple, you'll see that these pretty much have a theme with the cast. They are pretty much the same cast in these movies. But this next one is a Robert Zemeckis movie. And yeah, I just couldn't get into the first one in this sort of franchise, as it were. But yeah, we've got Romance in the Stone and Jewel of the Nile. Um, I really like Jewel of the Nile. I think it's a lot of fun, that movie. The cast work a lot better in that movie for me. But Romance in the Stone, I just thought this was an Indiana Jones knockoff and not a very good one. Um, to be honest, I couldn't get on board again with the characters, with the story. I just didn't gel with this movie at all. Unfortunately, again, didn't hate it. Still think it's got some really good visuals in it. Michael Douglas is actually likable for me. I saw this at a time when I wasn't his biggest fan. My opinion of him has changed. I do think he's a fabulous actor, but he didn't win me over with this movie. And yeah, I just thought Kathleen Turner was a typical damsel in distress. Danny DeVito was there just for the comic relief, but didn't work for me, unfortunately, in this movie. And yeah, just overall is not an enjoyable experience as of the time of filming this. But yeah, just misses the mark for me. Romance in the Stone, bit of a letdown, to be honest, and just a bit disappointed with it. So yeah, this next one is pretty much has the same cast, and it's directed by Danny DeVito, and we've got The War of the Roses. So yeah, this is pretty much about this couple that meet and they're madly in love. They're just passionate for each other, and the movie just sort of evolves into their descent, and they end up just hating each other. And the problem I have with this movie is neither of the leads, Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas, are likable in this movie. I can't get on board with either of them. To me, they're just a pair of twats, to be honest. I just don't like them at all. Just nasty people, and just completely trying to outdo each other. And I don't know, I think the movie's going for it to be comical, but for me it just isn't. It's just unpleasant to watch these two people just absolutely try and get one over each other, and it's just horrid. Yeah, I just don't like it at all. From a story point of view, visually I think it's really good. I think Danny DeVito really sort of directs the hell out of it, to be honest. He really does a good job showing the way it looks, and his visuals and the camera work with it is really good, but character wise, not for me. Just could not get on board with either of them. They're just like a pair of kids that just don't know how to behave, and it's just like your middle-aged people, grow the fuck up kind of thing. But yeah, I don't really like the characters in this movie, unfortunately. But yeah, that's all I can really say about it. So yeah, that is The War of the Roses. Next up, we've got a movie that I know in the community has a lot of love. I think this is kind of a lot of people's, one of their comfort movies, shall we say. But for me, it bores the fuck out of me. I just can't get into it, and it is Ron Howard's Cocoon. Yeah, seen this movie twice, and like I said, it's the definition of boring to me. I just can't get on board with it. I can't see the appeal. The cast in it is really good. I know this won a couple of Academy Awards, I think, for special effects and best supporting actor. But like I said, 10 minutes in, I'm drained. I'm done. To be honest, it's a chore, and it's a real commitment to see it out, in my opinion. I can't get into it. Again, it's why it's on this list, and I'm sorry to say I want to like it. But if we're being honest, I can't do it, unfortunately. Yeah, just don't even get me started on The Return either. I think that's even worse. But yeah, just Cocoon, not for me. Failed to see the appeal, unfortunately, and can't say much more about it than that. So yeah, that is Cocoon. Next up, we've got one that's sort of really sort of well loved, shall we say? Well, not well loved, but definitely loved. This movie definitely has its fans, and yeah, amongst the horror community. And I do understand that this is sort of like a love letter to the horror franchise and other movies of that nature. So the next one that I can't get into is Cabin in the Woods. yeah, I just I don't know what to say about this movie, and that's probably why it's on this list. I just yeah, just felt very, very numb watching this movie. Couldn't relate to any of the characters. Didn't really know what was going on with the plot. I know it has this big surprise twist ending, shall we say, which for me just fell flat on its arse. It didn't really do anything for me. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those that it didn't work for me. I know it worked for a lot of people, but unfortunately, this movie just it wasn't its day with me, and it didn't live up to expectations. Um, shall we say? I just didn't enjoy it at all. It's very difficult to talk about these movies because I feel as if I'm saying the same thing about each one. But yeah, it didn't ignite any sort of excitement with me. I didn't really gel with it at all. Unfortunately, I thought Chris Hemsworth and it was really good. Richard Jenkins is always gives every role he's in. Um, but yeah, for me it just I didn't see the appeal. Unfortunately, I get what it was trying to do and I appreciate what it was trying to do, but I just didn't get the appeal, unfortunately. So yeah, that is Cabin in the Woods. Next up, we've got a Tim Burton movie, and I know I've talked about this one a couple of times, and I know people know I'm not a big fan of this film, and that is Big Fish. So yeah, for me, what didn't work about this movie was the cast. I really like Ewan McGregor and Albert Finney as actors in their own right, but in my opinion, they have no business being in a Tim Burton movie. For me, it doesn't work. When I think of Tim Burton, I sort of associate Helena Bonham Carter and Johnny Depp, other actors that nature. But yeah, for me, it didn't work, and I just couldn't get into the story. The movie lost me about 10-15 minutes in, and my interest had just died. I just yeah, I couldn't get on board with anything that was happening. I thought visually it was quite interesting, but nothing else was memorable to me for me being able to take anything away from it. And yeah, I can't really say much more than that. I think it's horribly miscast, this film. It just it doesn't work. I don't like it. Yeah, I can't say anything further about that. It's just my opinion on the movie. So yeah, that is Big Fish. Yeah, this is just my opinion about these movies. If you like all these movies, that's absolutely fine. Go on liking them and go on enjoying them. Um, there's nothing wrong with that at all. These just aren't for me. So the next one we've got is a Terry Gilliam movie, and it is 12 Monkeys. I think this is just me. Maybe this is just me being stupid, but I just don't understand this movie in any way, shape, or form. I really like Terry Gilliam's work. I love The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. I really do have a soft spot for Time Bandits. I'm not the biggest fan of The Fisher King, but for me, similar to Big Fish, I just can't really get on board with Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt being in a Terry Gilliam movie. They're just not what I associate with them. And it's a massive distraction, and it doesn't work for me in any way, shape, or form. It's just again, it's another one I can't get on board with. Does nothing for my taste buds when it comes to movies, and the enjoyment again is just non-existent. But I appreciate it again on a visual level, and it's interesting with its camera work, definitely. Brad Pitt is doing something different in this movie, definitely. I'll give him that. His performance is very good, but story-wise and character-wise, again, it just fizzles into nothing for me. I just don't enjoy it. Sorry to say. So yeah, that is 12 Monkeys. Next up, we've got a movie that I know some people really either love this or really detest it. And yeah, again, it's a movie that I find massively confusing. And it is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And I think because I find this movie so confusing and an absolute chore to get into, it just doesn't work. The enjoyment's just not there at all. I love Kate Winslet and I love Jim Carrey. I think they're really good actors. Jim Carrey for me is, whether you love him or hate him, he always gives 110% in every role he's in. He never half-arses it. He never phones it in. He's always giving something, and he's always trying something new. He's always committed to every role I've seen him in. But yeah, this for me just, it didn't work. It was far too confusing for me, and I just couldn't get on board with it. Just couldn't like it. Couldn't find anything relatable about it. It just confused me, and it lost me, which is never a good sign. So yeah, that is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That's all I really have to say about it. And this next one I was a bit apprehensive about mentioning because I know there's a lot of love for this movie. And yeah, unfortunately it's a comedy, but for me it didn't make me laugh once, this film. And it is Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove. Again, I appreciate it visually. I think some of the visuals in this movie are absolutely great. The bomb dropping sequence is phenomenal. Peter Sellers is probably the best thing about it, with the multiple performances, but as comedy goes, it didn't make me laugh one little bit. It just didn't strike a chord with me at all, to be honest. And again, it's why it's on this list. The enjoyment factor just wasn't there. I don't think this movie has very much of a rewatchability, shall we say. It just didn't ignite that in me, and I so wanted to. I wanted to enjoy all these movies and get something out of them, but unfortunately that was zero across the board with all 10 of these films. But yeah, Doctor Strangelove, it just didn't land for me. It was just, I don't want to say unpleasant, it was just, I find it a chore to sit through. And I love Stanley Kubrick. I think he's directed a masterpiece in sort of every genre. Not many directors can do that, not many can pull it off, but he's certainly one of the best, and he's probably in my top 2 directors of all time, probably with James Cameron as well. But for me, this just, it didn't work for me. I'm not saying it didn't work as a whole overall in the cultural spectrum of film. I do think it does belong up there with the high regard, but for me, the humour just didn't work. And that's just, again, that's a subjective issue with me. That's not an issue with the movie. But yeah, I can't really say much more about it than that. So yeah, that is Doctor Strangelove. And yeah, those are just sort of really the 10 movies that I just can't get into. I'm not saying these movies are bad in any way, shape or form. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just, for me, my personal tastes, these movies just didn't offer me any sort of appeal or enjoyment in any way, shape or form. But yeah, that's all I can really say about them. Didn't mean this for this video sound too negative or anything like that. It's just I wanted to sort of translate my feelings about these movies into a video. And again, without sort of bashing these films, because that's not what my intention was. It's just, for me, the enjoyment level just isn't there. So yeah, guys, just let me know some of the big movies that you don't really click with or don't really enjoy and can't get into. Whatever those reasons are. So yeah, just going to leave the video there, guys, and say thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. So yeah, take care. Bye for now.